Welcome to the Zen AF Hustle Podcast. I'm your host, Julia Garcia Devaney. I'm a life and mindset coach for female founders, and my mission is to help thousands of ambitious, busy women become the number one asset in their life and business. Tune in as I share with you the behind the scenes of my own ambitious journey and help you bring the Zen back into your hustle so you can create the impact you desire and truly love your own ambitious journey as well. Welcome, and let's get into the episode. Hey, my ambitious babes, how are you guys doing? How are you feeling? Look at me. I'm like 1 week ahead of the curve. Usually I record these episodes day of on Thursdays, but I've been like a week ahead this past week, and it feels weird actually. I kind of like doing it in real time. Because I could talk about current events and stuff like that, but here we are, and it's going to be amazing. It might be a good thing that I'm 1 week ahead of schedule, only because I get to schedule the podcast, and you guys know I'm like weeks away from giving birth to my last baby. So at this point, I am 36 weeks, just a few days shy of 37 weeks. That is considered full term, and after that, it's just a waiting game of like whenever she decides to pop up. And so it's nice that I'm a week ahead of schedule just in case she will want to show up early. As far as updates, you guys, I'm so close to even just getting the sample for my Zen AF Wellness Planner. I'm just kind of in the middle of getting some quotes from different manufacturers and things, and getting those samples from a couple of different manufacturers just to kind of test out different, materials and quality. So we will see, but that's where I am now. How amazing would it be if I could just at least have the sample and know who I'm going with in terms of a manufacturer before this baby comes? That's my goal, but I am really at the mercy, and have been at the mercy in this process of other people's timing and when they get to, when they respond to me. So that's been like kind of a thing in terms of just this journey, is just waiting for people, and sometimes they're waiting for me, and just kind of navigating that dynamic and really letting go of some timelines and things like that. So I will consider that for in terms of like tools to add into the Get Zen AF app, the ritual bank in the future, is just, relinquishing some of that control in terms of timing, really trusting the timing of things. And obviously, like, there's some things that you can, really move along and try to be on top of people and things like that. And then there's some things that you're just, you got no choice but to let go. So that's where I'm at right now. And I am so close to at least having the finished product in my hands to check out. Super exciting. The episode for today, though, is something that, again, I've been dealing with. It's always, comes from my personal Zen AF hustle. And it has really been coming into play with this pregnancy, because it's all about being honest with your capacity. And I realized that this is like a huge topic, especially for ambitious women. And it's been, obviously super top of mind for me these last 9 months, considering my capacity has been greatly impacted by my pregnancy. And I just want to tell you guys and show you guys how I have navigated this. You guys have known that, like, I'm obviously trying to meet myself with kindness and things like that. And I touched a little bit on this in the last episode in terms of kindness versus niceness and things like that. But I really want to focus on, capacity and communicating that capacity to others, and obviously being kind to yourself and being honest with your capacity with yourself. Again, this is a huge topic for ambitious women specifically, because ambitious women as an identity, we are like self-starters, go-getters, can handle it all, do it all, be it all, have it all, want it all. Like, I get it. Like, we want to live to the absolute fullest. We want to live to that capacity to the fullest. We want to challenge that capacity every single day. And sometimes when, you know, your mind has a different capacity than your body or vice versa, it can cause a lot of discord, which is basically what's been happening with me, where sometimes my mind can handle it, but my body can't. And sometimes my, body can handle it, but my mind can't. And I've had to be really honest with myself in terms of those things, and honest with other people, and even vulnerable with other people. Like, hey, this is where I'm at. And so that's all been very interesting to navigate on my own. And I'm excited to kind of share what I've been learning as well. Funny enough, it has really sparked my interest for a second product already that I have in the works. I was able to kind of map it out because I've been developing like concepts around this for a little while. It's been something that I've been developing for a bit, but I really see it now like taking shape and form in terms of concepts and a process and things like that to help more women, and maybe even specifically moms. Like, I might just go that route, which I usually don't do, but I think it's like really, really important to differentiate sometimes when we're talking about, priorities and capacities and things like that, where it's like we're not just talking about like, oh, we have like, a full 9 to 5, and then we're also trying to start our business, and then we also have a husband. Sometimes it's like we have this living, breathing thing that also is dependent on us. It's like a life or death situation. Um, and I just don't like, I feel like it's needed to differentiate, that the situation is just calls for something different, right? Like, it's not the same as if it was a dog or if it was another responsibility of some sorts. It's like if you have it could even be like a parent or something like that. Like, if you're some kind of caregiver where something else is like very dependent on you, that is just so much different. Like, a human life is so much different than just quote unquote other responsibilities, right? So, kind of giving it the respect that it deserves. I'm going a little bit on a tangent right now, but nonetheless, it has been brought up in my life mostly because I'm a mom, right? The priorities, the values, everything that kind of comes into play with my capacity. The good news is that most of the women in my world want that, right? They desire to have a family, or, they want to have it all, literally. They want the relationship along with the family, along with the passionate career, along with, the amazing life, the, just expanded, great feeling day to day, right? A regular Tuesday. They want it to be full and they want it to feel great. So that's mostly, I guess, who I'm speaking to here. Like, if you have something against kids, or if you have, something against, I don't know, you're just very far left or very far right, I'm probably not for you. I am kind of, I'm more for the person and the woman who literally wants to have a full, well-rounded life, and that's what you're going for, like wanting to have it all. Although I support you in whatever it is that you want, this is just kind of more specifically who I'm speaking to. But if I could help the person who wants all of it, then I could definitely help the person who wants just some of it. So again, like, this was sparked because I've noticed myself really having to be honest with myself and honest with others about my capacity lately. And just, communicating that and actually saying no when, I could tell somebody might need my help, or it would just be kind of more convenient for me as a people pleaser to just say yes or whatever. And I've had to say no, like things where it's like people are going through hard times and I literally cannot be there for them emotionally as much as I would maybe usually be there for them. Again, because my capacity is quite limited. I have a little baby growing inside of me, and it's very important for me to surround myself with more positivity than negativity. The physical capacity of like saying no to somebody that might need my help when I myself am struggling physically to just meet like the bare minimum needs of like my own family and things like that. Like all of that has been very difficult to communicate and accept and all of those things, but they've been so important and empowering for me to be honest with myself and others. And like that's really what has sparked this conversation today. And I feel like it's really preparing me for this next level, right? Like having 3 kids, having a product based business along with my service based business. Like my life is really is up leveling, and I've had to take this time to really, learn how to say no and how to be a little bit more confrontational. And I guess like that's the word. Um, it's not, it doesn't sound like a nice word, but like ultimately you are confronting a lot of different things. You're confronting somebody else's opinion of you, potentially them judging you on what your capacity is. So like, hopefully we all hope that we have friends that are understanding about, especially if we are able to communicate them pretty clearly and vulnerably. We would hope that we have friends and, whoever is asking for our energy to accept where we are in our capacity. But that doesn't always happen. So, again, being okay with people thinking things about you that are potentially negative or wrong, all of that plays a part in our capacity. And this is because it really questions our part of our identity as ambitious women. And a specific word that I want to like highlight here, because I see it come up quite a bit in my coaching calls, and in conversations with friends, that, also kind of identified having this ambitious mindset, and that is being capable. And I know I've done some kind of podcast on this before. I don't know if I've archived it at this point. I don't know when I said it, but I'm just going to say it again because it's this very specific word. It is part of our identity to be capable, right? Like at some point in our lives, we have had to be capable of doing it all. That's literally what has shaped our ambitious mindset, right? We have had to figure it out. We've had to do it on our own. So it is literally part of our identity. And when we start to up level and we have more demands on us, we think that we have to continue being capable. However, that's a very masculine trait, and it is in our power and in our ability and in our wisdom to actually tap more into the feminine at that point and understand that there is delegation, there is outsourcing, there is things. It's like owning what is ours and what is not. But we have to get more comfortable with being incapable. And that is the challenging part because it literally goes against our identity. When I talk to somebody with burnout and experiencing burnout, and I ask them kind of what are the day-to-day tasks in their life that are like causing them to burn out, and like of course it's all these different demands and responsibilities, but some of them are like cleaning and doing laundry and stuff like that, things that like can easily be outsourced. And like that's where the honesty kind of comes into play, where it's like, oh, I can't afford this and I can't afford that, but like also you can afford to like take these huge, weekly trips to Target, and you can afford to go on vacation, and you can afford to do all these things. And that might be a little like jarring to some people, like, oh, you expect me not to take my kids to Disneyland or like whatever. But it's like, I would sacrifice those, once in a blue moon, whatever, experiences for everyday life being much more comfortable, right? Somebody coming in and doing my laundry or cleaning my house for me once a week, twice a week, every day, ideally, right? But I know the value in that. And actually, the other thing that kind of sparked this conversation too is because my nanny, who's been with us for like, 2.5 years or something like that, ever since my youngest was like 2 months old, and now she's almost 3. She'll be 3 in December. she mentioned that she might not, that she was like kind of getting another job. And really, like what it would cut into, like the timing that we had agreed upon and stuff like that, is not so much. And it's just that she wouldn't be as flexible at nighttime or on the weekends or like whatever. And this was so triggering for me. And I had to really think about why. It was triggering in the way that it really caused a lot of anxiety in my body. So I started questioning that motion, right? Like what nerve is it really hitting right now? And it was hitting on a couple of different nerves. It was like, number one, this is like a person that I feel very safe and secure with in terms of my kids. Like I trust her more than I trust my own mom and my own mother-in-law with my kids, because she is literally with them every single day. Not that my mom and my mother-in-law are untrustworthy by any means, but she just knows the day to day, inside and out, what needs to be done. I don't have to train her. I don't have to exude any energy. So, of like trusting her or telling her, what to do or anything like that. So, potentially thinking about having to do that again, especially when I have like a new baby coming, like completely like was like, oh, Lord, no, like, change. I don't want that. But so there was that component. And on top of that, it was like she's not going to be available during the times that I thought she was going to be available, right? Which is like basically like all day while my kids are in school, which is like the time that I spend on myself and on my business and things like that. So I felt that freedom threatened a little bit, right? Which is like a huge value of mine. I felt that freedom threatened because it's not like, like of course like during these times I spend all the time with my new baby and things like that. But I didn't have the like I wouldn't have like the choice to like step away for an hour and do, a coaching call, or step away for an hour and get a massage or a facial or something like that, right? Like it's those things that keep me intact, right? Little myself kind of part of my identity, like just like the independent self part of my identity, where I'm not a mom, I'm not a wife, I'm not a homemaker, I'm not a daughter, I'm not a like anything else. I'm just me. Those are the things that make me just me as like an independent person. And so I felt like those things were a little bit threatened, because that freedom of having her there and making that choice was kind of not going to be as flexible. This like totally triggers like that anxiety, that postpartum anxiety and pregnancy anxiety, because it feels like daunting, like, oh my god, like I worked so hard to communicate my needs and build up to having this kind of freedom in my family and in my household and things like that, and in my life, and now it feels like it's been like taken away, but it really hasn't. I was just being dramatic. But I had to look at like what was causing that anxiety, right? So again, why it feels like this time, and like I said in my last episode, in terms of like things going on in the cosmos and stuff like that, there's definitely some energy happening in the moment in my life that is making me and helping me really prepare for this next level of who I'm going to be, of the capacity I'm going to have, of being able to communicate, things properly, and being able to navigate my values and my priorities like a boss, basically. A boss of my own life, a boss that understands what's important to me and what is not. So, again, what allows me to do that is, number one, knowing my values, right? What do I value the most, right? I value freedom, I value family, I value love and connection. I value, time, I value truth. I value those kind of like top values. And that's where I measure a lot of my decisions against, right? And that's where my priorities come in. Like, what is my priority, right? Well, my priority is my family, of course, but it's also myself, right? So, like, I know that keeping that part of myself intact, that is independent and, being nurtured and cared for, whatever, like for myself first, allows me to show up in those other roles that I care so much in my life, so much more, right? As a mother, as a wife, as a homemaker, all those things. I get to show up better there, because if I don't have that independent, we'll call her the independent part, intact, where I get to prioritize myself, no matter if it's like, self-care, or if it's like my work, something that I'm very passionate about and that makes me me. And it's like the only thing that is like for me, right? Then the other things will suffer, because they cause resentment and all sorts of, and then depletion and all sorts of things, right? It just doesn't support anybody, help anybody, benefit anybody, if all of those things are not intact, including that independent part of me. And all of this timing of things, and my nanny telling me this, and people coming to me, and me having to voice my capacity, is really preparing me again for that next level, because I always like question, like, what, I still have those fears of like, oh my God, can I do this? Can I have 3 kids and a business and a house and a husband and all the things? Like, there's still a little bit of a fear of like, 'cause, I haven't done it yet. And so, naturally my mind wants to, say like, hey, like, you've never done this before. This is scary. You might die or whatever. And so I wanted to look at that and understand like what all of that is going to entail. And I feel like these little things and these, maybe like difficult emotions and difficult conversations are really preparing me again for that next level of like what's to come. And it might be a lot, stronger boundaries and more, proper communication and more understanding about my needs. And also just, really, you know, completely understanding like what those priorities are and like where my values are and things like that. All of that, is going to come into play. And I want to play you a clip. It was something that confirmed it for me, was this clip that I saw on Goop. It was Emma Green, Agreed, who is total boss and total goals. She has 4 kids, and like, I don't know how many, like when I heard that this woman had 4 kids, my mind was absolutely blown, because I see her everywhere. She's like the CEO of Good American, and she's on Shark Tank, and she's like, doing all these other projects, and, part of all these other companies like Skims, like all of these companies that are like thriving. So it seems like she's just doing it all so well. So when I found out that she had 4 kids, my mind was like, I just couldn't, like, what? Like, and actually Gwyneth Paltrow says it perfectly. Let me just play it.
You're basically CEO of like 5 companies and you have 4, right? 4 kids. How the
It's like I do all the things. I'm up at 5 o'clock and I'm working out and I'm manifesting and I'm meditating and until I'm like swearing at my husband and like being horrendous to everyone. So it's like, I don't believe in the balance, right? The balance just went out of the window. If you have a sick kid, you have a sick kid. If you have a deal to close, you have a deal to close. The reality of my life is a series of trade-offs, and the quicker you become comfortable with that, the happier you will be. And I know that for me, being honest about what I can give to everyone has helped me enormously, and it's made everyone around me happier.
amazing.
Beautiful.
So she outlined something like so perfectly that, again, like this next product that, actually, I don't think it's going to be my next product, to be honest with you. I want to wait for some time to put this out, but I have been developing these concepts for quite a bit, and it's about, understanding your priorities and being honest with your capacity, right? Because again, we want to have it all, do it all, be it all. But the truth is we don't, we can have it all and we can do it all. We just can't do it all at the same time. And just being honest with that and being comfortable with that will really transform so much in your life. This is why priorities play such a big role, because it's like it allows you to focus on one thing at a time, which is something as women, like it doesn't come so naturally for us. For us, it's actually much more natural to like be multi-focused, right? And like, multi-passionate and multi this and just really like, let our energy flow like water all over the place versus like a streamline, right? Like that's a more masculine thing. But when we know our priorities, and we understand our capacity, right? Then we can more easily choose to focus on one thing at a time. Something that she does also is explain that, she doesn't believe in balance. I say the same thing again because it is a harmony. It is a harmony between those priorities. And we also have some of those fixed mindsets, that all or nothing, black and white mindset of like, okay, if I'm prioritizing my kid, then my work doesn't matter. If I'm prioritizing my work, oh, then my kid doesn't matter. If we could just look beyond some of those definite mindsets, right? So where we make one thing mean something that it actually doesn't, and it's not even useful for us to think, which is mostly something negative, then we can really be just happier people, right? We just have to redefine what it means to harmonize between our life versus being, finding that quote unquote balance. The other thing that she touched on that I'm actually so glad that she touched on was something that I was feeling myself in terms of, like, again, more negative emotions like guilt, because as a mindset coach, I put some pressure on myself to, like, get it all right and always kind of be on top of it and never have those moments of like big blow ups or upsets. But they totally happen. And I have really been, again, coming to terms in my capacity with, like, in this journey of understanding my capacity. Also, I've been kind of understanding my ability and just giving myself permission to be human and to make those mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And not even to mention that, like, not even to say like they're all mistakes, but if like I do have a big emotion, right? Especially, come on, there's so many hormones running through my body right now. Like, there's no other choice for me to, except for to like just meet myself with like absolute kindness. But, there's some times where I don't have that ability to really, do everything on my morning routine and do everything on my night routine. And I've totally come to, terms with that and within myself, and understanding that there's just seasons of my life where it can happen. And then there's seasons of my life where it's just not the biggest priority. Sometimes the biggest priority is just getting up and taking care of my kid, or it's like getting up and, handling business or whatnot, and, getting to that self-care and meditation and all those things, in the bits and pieces between my life that it's available. Right. And that's okay. So yes, being kind to myself and making it okay, like letting it be okay for me to learn from everything that I go through is really what helps me help all of you, to be honest. So, it does not serve me to be perfect. Actually, it serves me to be imperfect, right? In order to learn from it. And I can actually take those learnings and give them as, learnings for you guys, and takeaways for you guys. So it's actually more beneficial for me to be imperfect. And just circling back to this idea of being incapable, right? Again, being comfortable with being incapable really allows you to not just understand what your capacity is, but it also it allows you to delegate and let other people meet you where you need to be met, and step in where they need to step in, and stop doing so much for so many other people, and really just refocus some of that energy on yourself, and meet yourself with kindness in terms of what your capacity is, and be a little bit vulnerable. Again, another thing that is very hard for ambitious women is to be vulnerable and communicate what that capacity is to others, and let them meet some of those needs. All this to say is that this is the only way, right? This is the only way as ambitious women that we can actually truly have it all. It is by admitting that, we can have it all, just not all at the same time, right? We can be it all. However, you want to enjoy it at every level. You don't want to be it all at the same time. And you can do it all, but it doesn't always mean that you should. This will be the essence to your capacity. This will be the essence of your priorities. This will be the essence of your productivity, of what you can achieve every single day. Because by honing all of these concepts and all of these things, and redefining and rewiring your mind to be a little bit less capable, a little bit more vulnerable and all those, everything that we've talked about today, I promise you're going to live a much more joyful journey by redefining what you have believed to be true as an ambitious woman that is wanting it all. So while I work on that product, I don't want it to be the next product that I launch because it'll be a little bit of a, what is it called? Like competitor to the Zen AF Wellness Planner that I'm launching right now. But I will have next year my Zen AF Hustle Academy that will highlight a lot of these things, like how to find your priorities, how to find your values, and how to make sure that they don't contradict each other when you are going to go after a goal to achieve anything basically that you want in your life, which will allow you to achieve that thing with less sacrifice and more joy. That's really going to be the goal of that Zen AF Hustle Academy. And there's a waitlist in the link in the show notes if you want to sign up for that. And that will be next year, 2025. It'll be a group coaching program, a very small group to start. I'll probably launch it a couple of times until I get the whole course right, and then, make it available to the membership. But yeah, that is it. I hope that this helps. Again, knowing your priorities, knowing your values, understanding how, what your capacity is, being honest with yourself and kind with yourself, and then having that proper communication of how to address those needs will be what helps you tremendously reach your next level and be happy in that journey of achieving even the next level after that. All right. Tell me your favorite takeaways at Julia Garcia Devaney. I'd love to hear from you. I love you guys. Talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening, Ambitious Babe. If you loved this episode, take a screenshot and share your favorite takeaways with me at Julia Garcia Devaney, and be sure to leave us a review, as that would mean so much. And if you're ready to put the Zen back into your hustle and love your ambitious journey, be sure to download the Get Zen AF app, where you'll learn to prioritize yourself and truly become the #1 asset in your life and business. It's available in the App Store and Google Play. Check out the links in the show notes, and I'll see you inside.